So hello guys, what's up and welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's me, your girl Barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. Guys, I'm sure that by now we all must have heard, or many of us must have heard about the story involving a young lady, a 16-year-old girl, the pepper soup incident, and how it led to the deaths of 5 people. When this news broke, I wasn't in a hurry to talk about it because it involved the minor, so I wanted to be sure, at least a little bit sure, about the facts of the case first before I comment on it, because this is an era of social media. Anybody can just put the story to any picture and video and start to spread, and it will go viral, and it might not be the truth. So I wanted to be sure, at least have a little certainty before we talk about it. And now that the police public relations officer of Edo State has commented and released a statement, an official statement about the incident, so that gives a little credence to the rumors making the round. So let's talk about it and also address it legally speaking. 19-year-old Emmanuel Eluge was in a romantic relationship with 16-year-old Aisha Suleiman. That relationship is suspected to have been a draining one. Well, what do we expect? These are children who should not even have any business being in romantic relationships. So it was one of these high-tempo, emotional relationships suspected to have been draining, because every once in a while, Aisha would take to social media to pour out her frustrations and her worries. In this particular post, for example, she said, "Relationship is just overhyped. Something that makes you overthink, feel insecure, cry every night, feel entitled, lose focus, face fake love and promises, lies. But anyway, if you're in one, I wish you luck. Just make sure that the love of your life is what the stress you are going through." Very cryptic. So yes, she would take to social media every once in a while to drop such melancholic messages. So it was obvious that that relationship that she had with Emmanuel was one that was this way. And typical of such relationships, after a short time puppy loving, if I can call it that, they split, they parted ways. But Aisha was obviously aggrieved and scorned. Emmanuel, on the other hand, moved on. He began dating another 16-year-old girl who went by the name Ada Samuel. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and subscribe if you haven't. So this young man, Aisha's ex-boyfriend Emmanuel, was recently involved in an accident. And that is obvious because if you have seen the gory videos of what happened, you will see that he had a bandage on his hand. So he was in an accident, recovering from it. And so it is alleged that Aisha had gone to pay him a sorry visit, a consolatory visit. After all, exes do not need to be enemies, do they? Many people are of the opinion that there is absolutely nothing wrong to be cordial and jovial and maintain a good relationship with your exes. So she had prepared to go see her ex-boyfriend, and she prepared a big bowl of pepper soup, fish pepper soup, that she would take to him. Well, if you're Nigerian, you would know that pepper soup is a staple food that is prepared for people who are ill or recovering, maybe because of the spices, or many times many of them lose appetite. So something pepperish usually works for people who are ill or recovering from illnesses. So around October the 26th this year, she visited the residence of her ex-boyfriend Emmanuel at Afashio in Edo State, and she delivered the meal to him in the spirit of friendship and get well soon. According to the story making the rounds, what Emmanuel was oblivious of was that this meal was laced with poison. Oh, she was disgruntled about the way the relationship ended, and she came seeking vengeance. It was bad enough that she targeted killing somebody at all. What made it all the more tragic was that Emmanuel was not the only person in the house on that fateful day. He had his new love interest, Ada, there with him, and he had 3 other male friends, amongst which 2 brothers of the same mother were in the building. So when the food came, all 5 of them partook in the meal. Shortly after, the effect of the poison kicked in. None of them was spared. They all lost their lives. According to the Police Public Relations Officer of Edo State, the PPRO, in a statement that he released, he said, press release, death of 5 young persons in Afashio community. 1 suspect arrested. Commissioner of Police orders discreet investigation. The command received the report on the 26th of October 2024 at about 07:30 hours from one Mr. Elogie Ezekiel of Afashio community that about 6:30 of the same day, he went to check his son named Emmanuel Elogie, 19 years, at his apartment. That upon gaining entrance into the apartment, he met the lifeless body of his son's friend named Nuruddin at the corridor. He went further and met the lifeless bodies of his son and his girlfriend Ada Samuel, female, 16 years, on the bed in the bedroom, while another 2 of the son's friends named Samuel Ayegwalo and Jeffrey Ayegwalo, who turned out to be siblings, found in the sitting room. They were evacuated to the hospital where the doctor confirmed them dead. On the 29th of October, operatives of Jatu Division received information that the girl, later identified as Aisha Suleiman, female, 16 years, alleged to have caused the death of Emmanuel and 4 others with food poison, was about to be lynched by some young men from the community. They mobilized to the scene, rescued the suspect to the station, and the case was transferred the next day to the State Criminal Investigation Department for discreet investigation. The COP has directed that no stone should be left unturned to ensure that the cause of the death of these young people is established. Such a very unfortunate situation. We are going to analyze this situation legally speaking, especially for the fact that this suspect, this murder suspect, is a minor. She hasn't attained the age of legal maturity. But before we do, let us quickly have a discussion on these 2 subjects that have come up as a result of this case. First is the issue of cordiality with an ex. Some people have disagreed very strongly. For somebody to have any kind of cordial relationship with another person who they had fallen out with in a relationship, especially when that breakup was not warm or cordial. For these set of people, they are like, an ex does not exist in my life. I don't want any friendship. I don't want any cordiality. I don't want any relationship. Front and go your lane. After all, if we were so sweet, if we were so lovely and lovey-lovey with each other, why did we break up in the first place? So, uncle, auntie, face your life. Let me face mine. I do not want to call you. I do not want to see you. I do not want to visit you. I do not want to hang out with you. I do not want to be friends with you. Move along. There showed disappointment in this young man, Emmanuel, for having that kind of relationship to the extent of taking food from a lady that he has broken up with and he has moved on to another relationship with. They were like, you do not know the heart of man. The heart of man is desperately wicked. How can you expose yourself to that danger? To them, exes should not be friends. But to some other people, they do not quite agree. They were like, yes, this case is unfortunate. It ended the way it did. But let us not ignore the fact that some ex-relationships also breed very good, pure and honest friendships that have led to elevation, led to striking of business partnerships, and led to the hatching of positive things in the lives of these people. So for them, it is not wrong, it is not a crime, it is completely okay to maintain a warm and friendly relationship with an ex. What are your thoughts about these 2 arguments? Down in the comment section. Then again, in the comments from this post, we got to see plenty of allegation of parental negligence. A lot of blame was attributed to the parents of this girl. And it's not just this case only. Where there is a case where especially a minor or a young person generally has led a life that people would not totally expect that he or she should be leading at a particular age, a lot of blame is channeled to the parents of that individual. In fact, I read some places where some people say, arrest her parents, deal with her parents, it is her parents' fault. What do you think about this? Do you think that parents have a direct bearing on how their children turn out? Yes, parents have a lot of work to put in, a lot of role to play in their children's lives, in determining how their children turn out. But do you believe that it is still possible for a parent to put in their best raising a child and the child will still turn out to be something else, and parents should not entirely be blamed for how their children turn out? After all, we all know some households that have produced maybe 2 children, one of them very responsible, very decent, and the other one, oh my God, you wouldn't even believe that that child came from the same household where that first child came from. Do you believe that parents should be held responsible for the actions of their minors and for how their children turn out? Or do you say no, parents do not have a leash on their children's neck 24/7? They can only do their best, but the child will still become what he or she wants to become. How much liability and responsibility do you believe should be attached to the parents in incidences of this nature? Your thoughts down in the comment section. Now let us discuss this incident legally speaking. This is a young female, a child, if we can call her that. She is only 16, and many people are of the opinion that adulthood, legal maturity, begins at 18. So anybody below the age of 18 cannot be criminally liable or responsible for their acts, misconducts, or misdeeds. That is the impression of a lot of people. What does the law really say? Yes, in Nigeria's grand norm, the highest law of the land, which is the Constitution of the Federal Republic, it has suggested that legal maturity begins from the age of 18. But looking at it in stricter terms, this legal maturity being referred to by the Constitution can be more likely attributed to cases of voting or being voted for, maybe suing or being sued. But when it comes to criminal liability, the age of legal maturity slightly differs, or can we even say largely differs. A person under the age of 18 can be held responsible for their criminal acts. Let us look at section 30 of the Criminal Code, which is the law that governs crimes in the southern part of Nigeria. Remember, I told you guys of the Penal Code, which governs the north, and the Criminal Code, which governs the south. There are other laws, acts, and regulations that guide children and crimes. We have the Child Rights Act, we have the Children and Young Persons Act, but the Criminal Code was very, very specific as to legal responsibility of minors. What does it say? It says, a person under the age of 7 years is not criminally responsible for any act or omission. That is pretty clear and straightforward. So a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, 4, 5, 6, any person under the age of 7 cannot be criminally liable for anything they do. Even if they take a gun and they shoot somebody, even if they kill, even if they whatever they do, they cannot be brought to court or held to be criminally liable for an offense. I believe that the law assumes that they do not possess the mens rea, the mental capacity to understand crime or understand the implications of their actions, so they cannot be criminally responsible for anything regardless of what they do. Now let's take that to the side. The next line says, a person under the age of 12 years is not criminally responsible for an act or omission unless, there's an unless it is proven that at the time of doing the act or making the omission, he had capacity to know that he ought not to do the act or make the omission. I would explain to you. As mentioned earlier, between the ages of 0 to 7 years, there is no need, there is no point, there is no requirement to prove whether that child knows what he is doing or not. The child cannot be held shikina. But between the ages of 7 to 12, that child can be held responsible for an offense, for a crime, for murder, for arson, for kidnapping, for anything. If there is an unless, if it is proven by the prosecution that at the time of committing that offense, that child had the capacity, the mental know-how to distinguish right from wrong, to know that what he or she was doing, he ought not have done it. So if it can be proven that there is mental capacity to appreciate the volume, the intensity of that offense, then a child between those years can be held criminally responsible. And this also speaks to those children that were held by the Nigerian government for protesting during the last protests. Unfortunate as it is, actually, because yes, there is legality, but there is always morality. And despite legality and morality are two different concepts, a lot of laws stem from religion and morality. So despite the law has prescribed that a child of this years can be criminally responsible, it is still unbecoming that the Nigerian government would hold children not for murder, not for kidnapping, not for arson, but for protesting. Now that is another shade of evil on its own. But that is not the subject of this topic, right? That is just giving bearing to what is happening over there. Why the Nigerian government are justifying their reason. That is the rationale that they are given for holding those children in prison custody and prosecuting them. So coming back to this issue at hand, this is what the law says. When there is mental capacity to understand, I'm sure you would ask, how can you tell, how can it be proven? Several ways. Expert opinion, by cross-examination, exposure. There are different things, different points that the courts would factor to arrive at a decision that this child actually had the mental capacity to know what he or she was doing. So what this tells us clearly is that a minor below the age of 18 can be held responsible and liable for a capital offense. So for those that have the opinion that, oh, because she's under the age of 18, she's going to go free, she's still a minor in law, she can't be charged to court, that is an erroneous assumption. A person below the age of 18 can be criminally liable. The difference might then lie in the way the trial is held, the kind of punishment that is given, because these laws that I mentioned, the Children and Young Persons Act, the Child Rights Act, and all of these legislation that aims at protecting children specifies that how a child should be tried should be different from how an adult should be tried, even down to sentencing. These acts prescribe that it should be more of reformative than punitive. The courts, the system should aim at reforming the child, at rehabilitation, than at punishing. So in these laws, you're going to hear nomenclatures such as juvenile courts, such as community service. But again, in reality, no, there is a law in paper, as I tell you, and there is a law in reality. In fact, do we have these resources? We still find that children are mixed up in adult prisons. We do not have centers, or we do not have facilities where children are kept or reformed. It's important for us to be aware of the reality and not just what the law says on paper. So in essence, in a nutshell, this lady is up for a very rough ride. She has caused the death of 5 people due to her, I don't know what to call it, her irrationality, jealousy, thoughtlessness, and she will be made to face the law if it is proven that she actually did cause the death of these people. Let us hope that the police will make this investigation thorough, conduct an autopsy on the remains of these people, and of course do the right thing to ensure that the families of these deceased young people get justice. What are your thoughts about everything that we have discussed? Do you think that any age below 18 is actually too young to be held criminally responsible for an offense as serious as murder? Or do you believe that at the age of 18, Aisha is mentally formed enough to understand the consequences of her action? Do drop your thoughts down in the comment section about everything we've discussed, including keeping a cordial relationship with your exes, parents taking responsibility for their children's conduct, and of course, the legal age of maturity and criminal responsibility in Nigeria. share all your thoughts down in the comment section, and may the soul of Emmanuel, as well as the souls of all his friends who passed unfortunately in a needless, senseless murder, rest in perfect peace. Amen. So guys, yes, we have come to the end of today's video. If you're new here, you are seeing my face for the first time, or if you've been watching without subscribing, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give this video a big thumbs up, drop all your comments down in the comment section, and stay glued, for we have so much more coming your way. Don't forget to subscribe to our African Folktale channel and join our masterclass, amazing masterclass, where we teach the arts, the pure, unrefined arts of storytelling. Click on the link down below to begin. It's me, your girl, Barrister Neze, and this is Nezeville. I'll see you guys in my next one. For now, bye.